What is up, y'all? Welcome to episode 48 of Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. This is your host, Michael Roscoe, and welcome to episode 48 of the show. I'm glad to see people coming in. We got a short show for you this week. Not a whole lot going on, but before we dive into all that, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe not only to Old City Sports Network, but also to the Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast YouTube channel, which you can find by searching the podcast title. It's going to be the first thing that pops up, as well as follow us on social media through Old City Sports Network and Second and 15. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Follow on those, as well as hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube and hit the notifications so you don't miss some content. All right, let's dive right into it. It is about 2 weeks before we get players reporting to camp. And let me tell you all something from a sports perspective. This is probably the most boring point in the year because the Olympics haven't started yet. I don't follow the NBA too much, so I know there's stuff going on with the 76ers, but again, I don't follow it too much. I'm watching the Premier Lacrosse League to get my sports fixes, and Philadelphia is sucking this year. They're 1-4, and it's a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But anyway, I think once these next 2 weeks start to roll over, again, just from a sports period, I'm bored. I'm doing really well else in life. But from a sports period, once players start reporting to camp, we're going to get a lot more info to talk about. And, it'll get the gears turning in the sense of like, wow, the season is almost here. It's almost finally here. I can't wait for the NFL to pop up again. Just a little bit more time, y'all. Just a little bit more time. All right. We got a little bit to go on this week, some brief NFL news, or the NFL news of the week, and then we'll go into a little bit of Eagles stuff. And this week's main topic of discussion is the Eagles Mount Rushmore. I'll get more into what that means in a little bit. So let's just go ahead and dive right into the NFL news that we got going on. So the NFL news of the week for this week is a little somber. For those who do not know, earlier, I think it was over the weekend, the Minnesota Vikings announced the passing of rookie cornerback Kyrie Jackson. He passed away in a car accident along with two others in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, which is honestly not that far from where I grew up. After what apparently happened was a car was trying to make a lane change, and it was a 3-car pileup. Jackson was a passenger in one of the vehicles, and unfortunately, he died on the impact. Tragic news coming out of this. It's not fair. It reminds me of the Brandon Bolesworth situation. If you've ever seen that movie or heard about Brandon Bolesworth, I think that's his name. Who was a first-round Colts pick. I think it was like the 90s or the 2000s. And same result, he died in a car accident shortly before the season began. So from us at Second and 15, we're thinking about the Minnesota Vikings, the Jackson family and friends around in this tragic time. Just again, it's one of those things that makes it not fair. You have people in the NFL who are doing stupid, reckless shit like driving cars fast and crashing into people, or committing domestic violence crimes, or betting against games, or anything like that. They're doing bad things, and they're barely getting a slap on the wrist, while guys like Curry, Jackson, who were just happy to be there and happy to make a name for themselves in the NFL, get that chance ripped away from them. And um, it's just it's not fair. Um, so to the Minnesota Vikings, you have a supporter here in these tragic times. Um, Rest in peace to Kyrie Jackson. All right, y'all. Before we go into the NFL news, I'm going to give you all a quick word from our sponsors. So, while you're trying to beat the heat this summer, because I'm telling y'all, it is blazing hot outside. I think it was like 99, 100 degrees temperature wise, tacked on 10 degrees for the E index, but it is blazing hot. And while you're trying to beat the heat and wait for this NFL season to start, don't forget to fuel up, get your protein in, get your fix in, and pick up some Righteous Felon craft jerky with some awesome flavors such as Soul Survivor, Darth Garlic, and Fal Capone and more. Head on to your local store, or better yet, go to righteousfelon.com and use our promo code OCSN for 15% off of your purchase. Any orders over $50 will receive free shipping. Next, while you're waiting for the NFL season to start in this dull period of sports, I'll call it. You might be trying to occupy yourself with some events like MLB games, concerts, or other special events. For those events, you'll want to head on over to SeatGeek.com or download the app and get your tickets and use our promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word with an E at the end of old, for $20 off of your first purchase. And additionally, if you end up not being able to make that event, SeatGeek will credit your purchase towards your next preferred event. And finally, with the hot summer that we've been having, you're probably doing everything that you can to make sure your body can handle the heat, whether that's applying extra deodorant, wearing loose fitting clothing, or keeping your beard groomed and light. For your beard care needs, don't forget to head on over to warlordbeardoil.com and use our promo code Old Sports, E at the end of old in all capital letters, for 15% off of your beard oils, washes, lotions, tools, apparel, whatever you need to keep your beard looking fresh and clean all summer long. And orders over $75 will receive free shipping as well. Gotta love those free shipping perks. So might as well just order all your stuff in bulk. Head on over to warlordbeardoil.com today. And finally, don't forget to support the network that is bringing you all of these sponsored ads and these shows. You got to check the net, quit chasing the living room show, Flyers Alley, and more for your sports and pop culture content. Show those networks and those shows some love by purchasing some merchandise. Head on over to oldcitysports.com, go to the merch section, and use promo code Old City for 15% off your order. And don't forget, we got some merch over at the second and 15 section. We got some glassware, some tumblers, some camping mugs, stickers, ornaments, whatever you think that you can think of. We have it there. Go ahead and show your boy some love by purchasing some second and 15 merchandise today. All right. We're going to go into our two Eagles topics tonight. The first one being that week 1 game. So, we got some news regarding that week 1 NFL game down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which is a historic game for the NFL, as it is the first ever game in South America. It's going to be very exciting for the South American NFL fans. The NFL announced that the game will be airing on Brazilian networks of Cazé TV, Rede TV, and ESPN Brazil. This game is going to be available in English and Portuguese, so all fans will be able to enjoy it down in Brazil and here in the United States, as well as around the globe. As a reminder for us in the United States, this game will air exclusively on Peacock, so make sure you got a subscription. I know what I've said about the subscriptions before, but if you don't have a friend that has one, or your favorite bar that you watch the games doesn't have Peacock, maybe, go get that 14 7-day free trial for that week and get that subscription so you can watch this historic game. It's going to be a good one. Some people are kind of on opposite ends of how that game will go. Your boy thinks that the Eagles are going to win. You saw how we did against the Packers last time. I don't think it'll be easy. It's going to be a hell of a different environment, obviously, but I still think that we're going to come out with that win come week 1. All right, the big topic for the night. My Eagles Mount Rushmore. Okay, like I said, this is a short week. I already know that we were on the final topic, but bear with me. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, so the NFL Network recently released their Mount Rushmores for all the teams in the league, that being the 4 greatest players of all time for each team. For those who maybe are from outside the U.S., don't know what Mount Rushmore is. That's just a big ass monument in the state of South Dakota that has 4 presidents, historical figures on there. So the NFL's Mount Rushmore for each team basically is selecting the 4 greatest players from each team of all time. So they have one for the Eagles. I can't remember what they said off the top of my head. You'll want to check that out online. Just search Eagles Mount Rushmore. It'll probably pop up. But I wanted to give my intake on it because I also saw another podcast friend of mine from Squawkin' Eagles Cast do something similar. I wanted to hop on this trend as well. So I'm going to give you the players that are currently in my Eagles Mount Rushmore, and they are as follows. If you're following along live, feel free to comment who you think your Eagles Mount Rushmore individuals are. But for me, I have selected Chuck Bednarik, Reggie White, Brian Dawkins, and Donovan McNabb, with an honorable mention to Randall Cunningham and Jason Kelce. I'll be honest, y'all, this list was so fucking difficult to make. There are so many well-deserving, fantastic Eagles players over the nearly 100 years of Eagles existence, and the 5 years of Steagles existence, if you know what I'm talking about when I say the Steagles. Yeah, this list was almost impossible to make, and I'm sure by this time next year, this list is going to change. But for right now, I'm sticking to the guys that I got, and I'm going to give y'all my reasoning for these selections, starting with Chuck Bednarik. Now, this guy, for the young Eagles fans who might not know him, he played in the 1940s, 50s, and I think early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. He was one of the last two-way 60-minute men, if you'll call it. Basically, one of the last players to regularly play on both sides of the ball. This man could do it all. He played both sides, offense, he played center, and defense, he played linebacker. After being drafted number 1 overall in the 1949 NFL draft. And additionally, I think he is the only player to be the number 1 overall pick and the only overall number pick from an Ivy League college. He went to the University of Pennsylvania. So in addition to being a dual-sided player, he could punt. He averaged 40 yards per punt and could field punt and kick returns as a returner. They called him Concrete Charlie because he was an absolute fucking wrecking ball. He's the man behind the hardest hit in NFL history, which led to the receiver of his tackle, New York Giants player Frank Gifford, being unable to play football for 2 years. Now, if you look it up on YouTube, you would think that, okay, it doesn't look that bad. But think about how that shit probably felt. People were built different back in the 1940s and 50s. And there was a lot of different rules. Some would say that it was not as quote unquote soft as it is nowadays in the NFL with all the rules and, the roughing the passer penalties and all that other shit. that people think makes the game soft. This is 1940s, 1950s football with minimal padding, dudes who didn't give a fuck, and hard hits. So that hit left Frank Gifford unconscious. They were friends, I think, after that game till the end, basically. But this man definitely earned that nickname for his hard hitting mentality, and he could just absolutely do it all. A photographer captured that hit at the end. He's got his fist in the air like this. And it's probably one of the most famous photographs in NFL history. Just an iconic piece of photography art. Additionally, he had the game-saving tackle. He bear hugged this Packers player to the ground in the last 10 seconds to clinch the 1960 NFL championship while wearing the number 60 while playing all 60 minutes of the game. So you could say this man's favorite number was probably 60. Here's the thing with that. Pre 1966, they didn't have the Super Bowl, obviously. They had NFL championships. And the Eagles won 3 of them, with the last one being that 1960 NFL championship. I saw something the other day where someone had asked the question, do you think the NFL championship games should get as much recognition as the Super Bowl? And to me, I'm kind of leaning towards yes, because here's the thing. You had the best available players for the time being able to play. I know there was a lot of historical discrepancies and discrimination back then because of the times they were in. And of course, not every player who was probably the best player of football was on the field because of, you know, discriminatory bullshit, if you want to call it back then. I do call it discriminatory bullshit. But anyway, within the group that was playing on the field, those NFL championships showcase the best 2 teams in the league, which is basically what the Super Bowl is today, is the best 2 teams in the league going at it. And the Eagles have 3 NFL championships. So some people were like, oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You guys only have 1 Super Bowl ring. Well, we have 4 total championships if you combine the 2. Other teams would probably say the same thing. The Cowboys have 5 Super Bowl rings. If they had, I don't know how many NFL championships they had, but if they counted it as such, they could say that they have more than 5 rings or whatever. So it's a benefit to every team that at least has an NFL championship victory. But anyway, I'm going off tangent here. This guy was an absolute legend, so he is definitely on my Eagles Mount Rushmore. The second person I have on here, this was probably a no-brainer, and that is Reggie White. He recorded at least 1 solo tackle in each and every single one of the 232 career games that he played. Absolute balls to the wall. He acquired almost 200 career sacks, including 1 season where he had 21 sacks. Additionally, he had 14 career forced fumbles and 12 fumble recoveries. Was a Super Bowl champion, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time First Team All Pro, 5-time Second Team All Pro, a member of the 1980s and 1990s All-Decade NFL teams, and a 13-time Pro Bowler. He's got accolades for fucking days. While only half of his career was with the Eagles, he went on and played for the Packers, and I think another team for the rest of his career. 3 of the Eagles seasons that he was with, he accumulated 18 or more sacks. That's absolutely crazy. I don't even know players who have that many sacks consecutively nowadays. It's not the record. I think Michael Strahan and TJ Watt hold the record for 22 and a half sacks in a single season. But anyway, Reggie White is a huge success story coming out of the original USFL league that started in the 80s. While White took the league by storm and never looked back. I imagine he's unanimously in anybody's Eagles Mount Rushmore. My third pick for the Eagles Mount Rushmore is Donovan McNabb, quarterback from the 1999 to 2009, I want to say, for the Eagles. And I'll be honest, I was having a hard time deciding between him and Randall Cunningham to put in here. Both fantastic quarterbacks. Randall Cunningham, dual threat quarterback, could throw the ball 95 yards. It could also punt at 91 yards. Absolutely insane. We don't got QBs who could punt like that at all nowadays. But the legacy that Donovan McNabb had with that Eagles team from like 2000 to like 2004, 2005, absolutely nuts. Like, just for those who don't know, just like listen to all this stuff. While he never got the team a Super Bowl ring, he was damn near close. 230 career touchdowns to 115 interceptions. Donovan McNabb led the Eagles to 5 NFC East titles in 6 seasons, including the 4 consecutive ones, which we have not seen since that 2004 year. I think it's 2004. We have not seen a repeat since over a generation ago. And Donovan McNabb was the guy who led us to that last time. He also had one of the lowest single season interception to pass ratios in league history with like 2%. And he led the Birds to 4 straight NFC championship games. Are you kidding me? Like, that's insane. Despite the fact that the team lost 3 of those NFC championships and then ultimately lost the Super Bowl to the New England Patriots when they got that 4th game victory. That's insane to think about. That's what Patrick Mahomes is doing nowadays. He is leading his team to back-to-back and like division championships and AFC championships. Obviously, I'm not saying Donovan McNabb is Patrick Mahomes, but if you think about for the time, that was insane to get to 4 back-to-back NFC championship games. And I wish we won more of them, but that's another story. Now, McNabb didn't receive the warmest of welcomes when he took the field for the first time, but he sure was loved and missed the last time he took the field. All right, now my final player. I wonder if y'all can guess who this person is. Now, I've already listed Chuck Bednarik. I've already listed Reggie White. I've already listed Donovan McNabb. So if you're wondering, Michael, who's your last Eagles player on your Eagles Mount Rushmore? It is none other than the hard-hitting Weapon X in Brian Dawkins. Oh my God. This dude was probably one of my favorite players growing up next to Brian Westbrook. That shows you how I grew up as an Eagles fan in those early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s days. This dude was a fucking beast. He is what I wish hard-hitting players were nowadays. Now, granted, I know there's a lot of different rules and changes and all that other shit going on, but Brian Dawkins was something different. Nicknamed Weapon X, Brian Dawkins was one of the most feared players in the league during his tenure. Playing free safety, he logged 16 seasons in the NFL, accumulating 891 solo tackles. Not total tackles, solo tackles. That's an average of nearly 56 solo tackles per season. He also accumulated 26 sacks. Again, he's a free safety. He's all the way in the back. He ain't in the trenches, and he's still getting 26 sacks. 37 forced fumbles, 37 interceptions, 16 fumble recoveries, and 2 touchdowns. However, what he was probably most famous for were his hard-hitting tackling skills. Now, this man, God, I was watching highlights of him earlier today, and like he hit Andre Krumler so hard in that divisional game against the Falcons back in the early 2000s. His flying tackle, there's like that, he literally is just like in flying, tackling some dude on the Giants. Just wrecked people. Like, You think like Max Crosby and Nick Bosa and TJ Watt, you think they're out there wrecking people? No. Brian Dawkins was out here just massacring players with his hits. It was nuts. Like you saw him in your peripheral vision, you were like, I hope I survive this hit. Because he did not hold back. And I think what was inspiring of it, because he like was very what's the word I'm looking for? He's very critical of himself going into the league, like with his size and his talent and everything like that. But man, what a player he turned out to be. I was so sad when he went to the Broncos. I know like free agency can be a bitch, but he'll always be a powerhouse Eagle in my eye. And he makes my final spot on my Eagles Mount Rushmore. All right, y'all. So that is actually it for this week's episode. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I know it's a bit of a slow week. There was some stuff going on about how Kellen Moore was going to do the offense, but I feel like I've talked a lot more about Kellen Moore a lot lately, and I thought this Eagles Mount Rushmore thing, after seeing some other Philly fan podcasts and the NFL Network doing it, I wanted to hop in on the trend and do it as well. Let me know what you think about my picks for that Mount Rushmore. Go ahead and comment on the social medias, on the live, wherever, and see if we agree or disagree. I'm definitely open to discussion when it comes to those kind of things. If you have missed some episodes, do not fear. They are still on YouTube, on Old City Sports Network, and our YouTube channel, Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. Episodes 40 through 47, I believe, are on YouTube since I started doing these live video streams. And if you want to find episodes 1 through 39, those are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can easily find it by searching it. It's a pretty unique name. Go ahead and follow us on those streams as well. It's super helpful to us as small podcast creators. Very helpful, and I'm thankful for all the support that I've had and the friends that I've made by doing this. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody involved in the podcasting game. Again, 2 weeks until the players report, and I think by that time, it'll be season 2 for us. A quick turnaround from season 1 to season 2, but I'll do an episode next week. It'll be the season finale for season 1, and then the following week will basically be season 2, but that's when players start reporting to camp. Some super exciting times. I'm so thankful for those of you tuning out. Can't wait to get into season 2 with all of you and finally be able to watch some actual season NFL. I was watching reruns on NFL Network of the Dallas and Eagles game, the one where Rasul Douglas fucked up the deflection and Amari Cooper caught it. I want some live games. I was watching Canadian football, for God's sakes. The NFL season could not come quick enough. But before I tangent on, thank you again so much for everyone for joining in. I will see you all next week. Do not forget to stay fly like an eagle. And as always, go birds.